Testing, one, two, testing, testing, one, two, testing, testing, one, two, testing. Just trying to make sure that it's live. Okay. 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 Let me see. Okay. Testing, testing. Okay, good. Looks like I'm live. Okay, good. Looks like I'm live. Okay. To those who are now joining, this is Dr. Matthews-Bey on the Dr. Matthews-Bey Show. Welcome to you all. Uh, I know I've been missing for quite some time, not being able to come on the show, but I'm still alive and well. Uh, okay, now this evening or tonight, to those who are joining from the the Americas and Islam to you, my fellow Moors, my brothers and sisters, to you all, Islam to you once again. Welcome to this Dr. Matthews-Bey Show, Enforcing the Constitution, Season 2, Episode 3. There's a lot of things that I want to touch on, but I want to say this before I start. Before I start, as a matter of fact, that over a period of time, I would like for you to know that you're comprehending what I'm saying. And there's no, how should I put it? There's no other way that you're mistaken of what I'm saying and how it has been said. So that's in a nutshell. I want you to, when you sit and you listen to what I'm about to say, is that you open your mind to everything that I'm about to say and helping you to comprehend what is it that I want to get over to you. Share the live as you come in. I prefer you to share that live. One other thing that I need of you to do is that if you realize that I've shared my registration app, so you can download that and you'll be able to listen to the GMS live radio station, Radio Gaya. As you now come in, I would just prefer you to share the live. Share the live. As you now join, share the live so people can get to know that Dr. Matthews is on the air. There's a lot of things that I wanted to touch on, but over that period of time, I want you to comprehend that I am easing off this political thing. And the reason why I'm saying so is not that I'm coming off the politics because I'm afraid of anybody. I'm coming off the politics because it doesn't matter which political party is in power. Politicking, it's a game. Politicking, it's a game. And that game is serviced by an illusion. And that illusion been serviced by everything that is de facto. So to those who are looking, it doesn't matter which party is in power. The mere fact it's you who put them there. And if you put politicians to govern over you, you must expect them to do the things that you want them to do. It's a priority. The minute they do not do the things that you want them to do, it is not a priority. Because they're doing their own thing. And they sit in a place that you call a parliament or a session. And they make decisions for us without consulting us who are living souls. Not only that, but the system in which politicking is designed, it is designed to enslave the masses. It's Latin. Poly means more. Ticking means blood sucking ticks. That's who they are. Politicking is doing exact opposite as we are not expected to do, as they are not expected to do. And that's our problem. So when people like me are rising, we call ourselves revolutionary or revolution. They have all kinds of names to give us. But at this time, I don't have time with that because it's the same old, same old. It's the same old thing we're referring back to. So as long as you're part of the corporation which politicking sits on, or politician sits on, you are expected to be enslaved. That's a fact. That is a fact. You are expected to be enslaved. As long as you are a citizen of any corporation, means any country, each country is a corporation. The countries that run these other countries are not corporations. Uh, yes, the country that runs these other countries are not corporations. They are the slave masters of the corporation. Point to take note. We're going to use the Vatican. The Vatican is the head corporate society that sits within a corporation. They control every country around the world. Every corporate entity is a matter of fact. Around, because that's what country means. Every corporate entity around the world that practices democracy. Yes, the Pope is the man that controls that. Everybody listens to him. Everybody. You know, they always got a saying says the church and state is separate. No, the church and state is not separate. They're together. The church, that's what happens. So what happens now is that these corporate entities that are run by the other corporations, like Rome, England, the US, all these people are the same. The US, the United States, is a corporation that is run by Europeans. Europeans were the settlers of the continent of America, which is now called the United States. I mean, the Europeans are the settlers on the continent, which is now called North America, which sits on that North American continent that is called the United States. That's the corporation. They run everything. They're like, you ever heard about the ABC countries? America, Britain, and Canada? Yeah. They are part of what you call the G7, the gathering of seven most powerful countries in the world. They're the ones who run the system. They're the ones who create the new world order. And each politician, each person abides written or corporate entities. They must. The rules are to follow the international democratic system. Your laws and your constitution must surround it. So, to make that story short, we must comprehend that politics is not good for us, especially we who call ourselves Aboriginal, Indigenous, more. It was never good for us. It is an enslavement system. It's an enslavement camp. It's where you go to be enslaved voluntarily, and to make sure that you remain a slave. Every 5 years, you go to something you call an election to vote. And when you go and vote every 5 years, you're telling those who you know putting into power to enslave me more for the next 5 years. So just to help you to comprehend, for the world of Aboriginal people who are heavily melanated like myself, we didn't come up in such our foreparents and our parents before our foreparents never had such a system. Yes, they were royalty. Yes, they were a group of people who ruled the country, who ruled the land in which we lived, but it was never colonized. It was never. We lived in unison with each other. We exchanged ideas. We exchanged an education process. We exchanged a way of life, like planting to eat, and all these things. We help each other to grow. That is why when those who were now called Caucasians out of the Mount Caucasus, the mountains of Caucasus, that they gave the name to Caucasians who came here via way of galactic presence. That's how they got the name Caucasian. And we who lived in peace, lived in unison, say to them, well, look, since you're here, we're able to help you to see what life on this planet is about. We exchange knowledge. We exchange a brotherly understanding. We exchange a way of life. So they can be a part of this, the living organism. But what happens? One tends to seek to enslave the other because of one's weakness. That's what's happening. That now becomes the decline of life and life expectancy in itself. We change our original comprehension of ourselves. We don't no longer want to call ourselves living souls, highly spiritual. We don't want to call ourselves human beings. We don't want to call ourselves aboriginal, indigenous, because apparently it doesn't seem right. So we prefer to call ourselves black, a Negro, which is given to us by our slave masters. We no longer want to see life in a spiritual realm. We want to hold on to religion, which was created by man. All these things happen within a period of what, 200 years, 150 years? This is what was happening, and it's still happening. Every 50 years, the new millennium of people, a new dispensation. And as that happens, we become a lot a lost people. We lost our way of life. So I want to talk about the process of indoctrination tonight. It's enforcing the Constitution in such a way. And I want to help those to comprehend what I mean by indoctrination. Okay? The first level of indoctrination is English language. And as I speak, I want people to come on who are willing to have an open mind to comprehend what I'm talking about. The first level of indoctrination is English language. And why do I say so? I'm here on the planet Earth, and I seem to be a new breed of being here on Earth. But I want to control the system. I want to create a system where I'm able to control those who I see here living. So the first thing I do is to take away your culture. And if I take away your culture, culture means your history or your story, not your history, your story, your way of life. How do you live to meet thus far after all those billions of years? That's your culture. So the first thing I need to do is erase that. And as I begin to erase that, I begin to imply my culture. But the thing is that I'm putting myself in the Caucasian space. I don't have a culture. Those are the Caucasians. We came and meet everything here. We can't even remember what our culture is like, if we had any. So the first thing to do is to study, take your culture, plagiarize it and give it back to you in a plagiaristic form. But I need to do that every day, every minute of the day, every second of that minute, every hour, every 24 hours, every 36 hours. So I need to create a process where I misinform you about you to degrade the process of you. So you see yourself as a lesser of a person. So the first thing to do is to help you to acknowledge that you're not a living soul, but you are a person. You're a human being, according to English. And when you study the etymology of being human, it means to be 6 feet under. I mean, you go to school, they're not going to teach you that. So you acknowledge yourself as being human. So to be human is that you're already dead spiritually and physically, because it's to take away not your belief system. Don't let anybody fool you. The word belief, the etymology of belief means to doubt, but it's to take away your knowledge of your own self and imply upon you a knowledge of a foreign understanding. And that is that's what's keep on happening constantly. So what happens now after that? I not only take away your knowledge and take away your culture, but I take away your language, what you speak. So when I take that away now, I control how you think and speak, because you fail to comprehend what your ancestors would have taught you. You fail to uplift it. You fail to keep it alive. You fail to listen to your ancestors. So in that now, I create the process of a new language, of a new culture. So I combine the languages around, and then I make one language, English language. And I'll say it's universal, where everybody now has to speak it. But if you listen to what you're speaking, you realize that you're really degrading yourself even more. By first accepting that you're human, you're 6 feet under. Second, by accepting that you work for a fiat currency, which is an illusion. Third, you eat the food that they diagnosed for you. You forget all that you've been eating. And in that process, you're now taught that you have to eat to live. They erase the comprehension that you only eat to stay healthy. So your digestive system now becomes overburdened, because the little food that you're supposed to I don't know if it's the internet. but let me know if you're hearing me completely. Good. So, as I'm continuing to say, so the little food that you're supposed to eat, right? It's really supposed to keep you healthy. The satisfactory process is knowledge. When the body becomes satisfied, it is because of two things: knowledge and an edification process. That is what happens. It is because of knowledge and an edification process. That's a satisfactory. It was never intended to be food, the things that we eat. And let me break down that process to you, because remember now, indoctrination is all these things. Now let us look at the diets that they proclaim that we're supposed to eat. And we never used to. Rice that was grown just to create paper because of the starch it pertains, it now becomes a consumable item. It was never designed for the human structure. That's one. Sugar cane was never designed for the human digestive system, because you know why? Let me show you why. When you use sugar, it disturbs the taste factor on your tongue. Let me use a simple example. Let's say you decide to eat something, and eating that something, you realize it's not good for the body, for a consummation process. The tongue signals you. The tongue is the first thing that gives you that signal that what you're now about to eat is unwanted for your digestive system. So spit it out. So because they have designed things in such a way that we cannot be able to comprehend what we eat or how we taste what we eat, because we wouldn't be able to say what is bad or good for our digestive system. So what they do now, sugar becomes part of our diet. So now we all got problems. Most of us struggle from diabetes because our parents gives us these things in great multitudes. Rice, sugar, the milk. Yes, these main things are what is poison to our systems. But you know, they're not going to tell us that. They want us to keep on using these things. And then you have the pharmaceutical companies now that's going to help us in the process of not only death, and we feel death by just dying and burying, no, spiritually dead and physically. So we cannot evolve. So the process of disinformation is what we now live. We live through that process. That process is the system. Not to inform you about the correct way of life, but it's to disinform you, to create an education system, to create a medical system, to create a digestive system. Everything is about a misinformation. So, as I say in the first inception, in order to have us living in that blind spot, it is to change the way of culture that we once knew and adopt to what you now call the European culture, which it isn't good for us. It is never good for us. And they're using this disinformation
not only to capture us, but just to have us living in that illusion, have us living and saying that that's the way of life. We got the political system, we got the information technology system, we got the medical system, we got the digestive system, our, what you call it again? They create this food group that we eat to survive instead of we eat to stay healthy. And the least of it is to continue to keep us enslaved by a complete, total, different system that is not according to our metabolism, not according to our bodies. So we live in death day by day. Oh yes, the fifth one, sorry, it was the religious system. Our spiritual system they took and give it back to us in a plagiaristic manner, telling us what religion. So this is what is happening. So we can choose whichever system we want to live by. Some of us live by all the systems. But as long as you keep seeing yourself as a black person, as long as you keep seeing yourself as black empowerment, black movement, Negroid, and all these things, it is the system that you're still living by. You have to come out of that because you were never called that. Yes, there are different names that they want to call us, but the original name is Moors. From since you had this complexion, you are a Moor. You're Aboriginal, means abstract from the father. You're indigenous. These are the pronunciations of these words, comprehensions of these things that we call ourselves. We shouldn't call ourselves black. We shouldn't call ourselves Negroid. We shouldn't call ourselves colored, because we're not. When we acknowledge ourselves like these things, then we acknowledge the color of law. And the color of law is what governs us. Acts, codes, conducts, and statutes. Because we don't know better. So now they tell ourselves, but since that we live by their system, they tell themselves now that we don't know better. The best thing for us is them, because it's by their system that we live by. So the minute we want to come out of the system, now we're seen as terrorists. We're seen as agitators. When a man wants freedom, he wants absolutely freedom. He shouldn't. I don't think a man wants to be an agitator. There's no person that I can think of that wants freedom becomes an agitator. There's no person that I think that wants freedom becomes a terrorist. There are people who want to be free of a system that they knew and that they're seeing that's oppressing them. That's what it is. Let me show you a simple example. And I want to come around this reasoning now. Let's take, for instance, Russia and Ukraine. All the time Russia was going with this new world order. And Russia, under Vladimir Putin, would have realized that this thing ain't making sense. This new world order ain't making sense. These people are still living a lie. So it's best I now inform them. So by informing them about the lie, I wanted to take back their territory of corporation, not territory of land. Territory of corporation. The whole world is now calling Russia an invader, an agitator. But hey, when you and them degree, you didn't know they were agitators and invaders. Because all of you were doing the same thing. Russia invade Ukraine. Fine. How many countries did the US didn't invade? The least and the last one I can think of, and I can tell you about, is Haiti. The Haitian president only killed, but the government of the day, the president that got right now, is what is being placed there by the US. For instance, take another look at the Corporation of Guyana. The people majority voted for a party of their own choice. The US came, changed it, put the party that they want to put in place so they can benefit from a country that is not theirs, or from a land that is not theirs. Do you see the similarity? Do you comprehend the similarity? Let us show you what's going on right now. They say Russia invaded Ukraine and all these different things that are going on. Right now, in the Gaza Strip, Israel is killing Palestinians. They took over another 2% of their lands, and the world is not saying nothing about it. They're not saying anything about it. They're not calling Israel not only an invader, but a terrorist force that are killing people, crimes against humanity, genocide. No, they're not saying those things. And I'm using examples that people need to comprehend that what is going on now upon this world today. So how can you claim to talk about a country invading another country, taking away their rights, when you're doing the same thing presently right now? You're going around the world changing governments for your own likeness, because the politicians you don't like are not in the best interest of you. So this now is a process of continued indoctrination. Now we come in a very vital part I'm now about to talk to. It's all breaking it up into syllables. So I want you to comprehend where I'm coming from. Food is becoming a crisis. Let me show you why. Let me show you the level of indoctrination. These first world countries or first world corporations that they call themselves comes into your country to do business, your corporation, which they control. Take away the strength, the resources of the country itself or the corporation that they went to, that is located on the lands that is not theirs, and have the people depend upon what they must have to give them. Simple example, Venezuela. Venezuela moved from a country of self-sufficient to a country to be dependent upon importation of consumable items. So when the US put sanctions on Venezuela, 90% of their imported produce were withdrawn, what you call sanctions. So the now population of Venezuela, who doesn't know how to plant, who doesn't know how to rear crops so they can keep themselves healthy and energized, now depend upon a country who's continuing to poison you by the food that they give to you. So what is happening now? Food in itself becomes a topic of issue because there's no food security around the world. Everybody's dependent upon importation of food. Can you imagine Ukraine provides 20% of the world's grain, and Ukraine is a small country. There are countries that are larger than Ukraine that can provide grain also too, but they don't want that. As long as you're taking the IMF's money and the IDB money, you cannot have food security. You have to depend upon the dollar and the dollar to buy things so important to your country, to kill your people out so they can control your country. That's what's happening. That is the level of indoctrination that we're having. So you're having importation of products to consume. You're having importation of medical or pharmaceuticals, you call it. You understand? You're having the importation of an education process, which is indeed for human beings, as long as you want to call yourself a human being. They see you as an animal because it's only animal takes an education process. Living souls go through an edification process. Not only the education process, but your religious understanding. You see these four corners that they're encroaching on, then they create a political system that governs these four corners, that takes away your rights. So the level of indoctrination you cannot comprehend, because for everything you have to accept because there's no other way out. It's a culture that you're already in. So we become lazy. We become, what was the word? I had somebody call me today to tell me I can become a Bitcoin miner. I said, I don't want to become a Bitcoin miner. I want to plant food. This is what I want to do. I want to eat off of the earth, the natural resources, so I can stay healthy and I can edify my family. I don't want a fancy house where the entire yard is concrete and I got all the cars them, which ain't making no sense, because the less exercise is the more your organs depend on your body. So when you're exercising, if you're walking enough, if you're walking long enough for a particular day, you know what happens? Your organs now become slouchy. The lifespan for your organs reduces because the things that you're not doing. We don't even want to breathe in the clean air that we want to live by. We're disintegrating ourselves even more. And we call this civilization. We call this being civilized. And the people who live by the natural laws of nature, we call them, what's the word? I'm trying to remember. Savages. I mean, seriously? I mean, come on, let's take a look at ourselves. Ask ourselves where we are, is that if we were supposed to be there. This is not evolution. This is disintegrating ourselves. We're moving from here, from where we are, spiritually, to this position. Spiritually and physically, we're now dead by what we call a civilization, or being civilized to the first world country. Ask yourself what the first world country has to offer us. Nothing. Nothing. They have nothing to offer us. What? Getting some money, wearing a Gucci bag, and driving an expensive car? What does the car do? The most I can find out lately, it still pollutes our atmosphere. It still creates more carbon dioxide. Our ozone layer is still being opened up. We're still having natural disasters when we fail to live according to the law of nature. So you see the level of indoctrination. So when I say English language is the first level of indoctrination, that's what it is. It's the first level of indoctrination. And it will always be. It's a combination of languages. That's what it is. To create one language, one universal language we call English, that keeps on indoctrinating us because we never know the truth about nothing when we learn it in English. English does not teach us the truth. It does not. The way how we speak alone is indoctrinated. They taught us to speak in such a way that we will forget our natural way of life. I had to explain to a brother. I said, to show you Swahili, I'm going to let you know what we use in Swahili, in English language, that is so detrimental to us. I said to him, you know about the word name obia? Yes. People is walk over for people is batting. When I tell him it's a Swahilian word that means obey the laws of nature or live according to the laws of nature. He didn't understand that. But yeah, he didn't comprehend that. Not understand, didn't comprehend that. So I told him, I said the word obey derived from the word obia. I said it's a Swahilian word. He looked at me and he said, I never really think of it that way, because he was never edified in it that way. He was never taught. The system would never put him to sit down and teach him that this is what the meaning of these things are. The system would never do that. So to all of us who speak English like how I'm speaking it now, it's the first level of indoctrination. So hear what these, I call them terrorists now. Hear what these terrorists now say. I'm obstructing the normal way of life. There's no normal way of life in indoctrination. There's no normality in indoctrination. It is indoctrination. It is to take away your culture. It is not to disturb your belief system. Your belief system is to doubt. That's where the word belief came from, to doubt. It's the etymology. So when you say I believe, poor person who knows the truth, and I call them parsons instead of pastors, who knows the truth laughs at you because he don't know, look, this one come telling me he doubt. I mean, you got to think of it. Look, check it. Ask yourself if these things make sense that we're living by. It doesn't. Because at the end of the day, we live in torment. We live in oppression. Then they want to tie us to these stupidness about terrorism, about disturbing the normal way of how people want to live life. And they try to create a law to say that you're causing unrest and all these things, when we the people want to be free. We the people want to create our own system. We the people want to go back to where we came from, because we have realized that it was a process of indoctrination for over 500 years. Can you imagine? They came in every way they are as settlers. And they're not the majority, they're a minority of people, and they control the systems of the world. I mean, you ever ask yourself this question? How can such a little amount of people control you? And then they push a level of fear in you to make you now become frightened, to stand up for your own rights, to speak out against things that are indoctrination. They make you now become frightened. They don't want you to speak. They don't want you to ever speak. The more you remain silent is the better for them. Like the Guyanese that we have here, like the Guyanese in the Corporation of Guyana that sits on the South American continent, where Atlantis was. I want to add another thing before I close. You know, all these Caucasians from around the world, these scientists, historians as they call themselves, are trying to still explain how these pyramids were built. I need to add something to it. Now, if the modern world cannot create a hydraulic lift or a machine to lift one of those blocks that created the pyramids. And those pyramids were created thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago. Don't believe in them kind of fancy narrative nonsense. Thousands of years ago. You need to ask yourself this. What was the level of spiritual concept of the living souls that lived then? How did they do things in such a greater manner? We are the lesser version because we have brought ourselves to that position. We need to reclaim that position. And the first thing we need to do is to erase the first level of indoctrination. Start studying the words that comes out of your mouth, because it is a power. To say something is to create energy, and the energy that you create to say something comes back to you. So the more negative things that comes out of your mouth, the more deteriorated you become spiritually and physically. The more positive things that comes out of your mouth, it is the more positive things that happens within you, because this is a digestion process. For me, like how I'm so filled with all this knowledge, I'm pregnant. With all this knowledge, I'm ready to give birth, because I don't want to put myself in a secret society of men who only knows the truth and the rest of people mustn't know it. I want to stand and speak out, helping you to comprehend. I've had a lot of time, believe you me. I am still not that well as I'm talking to you right now. If you see how I am actually braced, just to speak to you, you'll understand, but the camera only focus on my face. All right? But these are the facts. As I said earlier, my name is Gavin Matthews-Bey. Bey, it's the indigenous name, it's an indigenous title to the land in which I came from, which is the Americas, which my mother and father has born. They didn't came here as slaves, therefore parents didn't came here as slaves, as the Caucasians tell you that they shipped them across the Atlantic Ocean or wherever ocean in ships, as slave ships. No, they came here and meet us. There were no vacant land. Nowhere around the world there were nothing vacant. They came and meet everything. You check their history. Their story, you check it. They murdered people to attain what they have. And these are the facts. So Bey is a type that belongs to the land. It gives me ownership. Guyana is a foreign entity. It's a corporation. I didn't came here and meet Guyana. Guyana came here and meet me. They came here and meet my foreparents. Listen to the ancestors when they speak to you. Y'all stop all this nonsense about who talking to you in tongues and craziness. Take heed. Try to comprehend. Use the words that people are using upon you to entrap you. Read it. Read everything before you sign. Make sure that when you sign to something that the comprehension, the etymology of these words are fully in recognition, because the minute you sign, you give them a contract to own you. And I will keep on doing what I do best, informing my people, giving them information that they need. Not inflammation, information. Because the food that you digest creates inflammation in your body. That's how come you got diabetes, you got high blood pressure, you got bone marrow disablement, all these things, because this is what the food you eat does to you. Maturity must never come with pain. Death of the physical structure is when the transportation of your spirit that lies within the physical structure tells the structure, well, it's time I move on. That's the process. First, I used to believe, well, you know, you got to die. No, it was never like that. Believe you me, as I speak here now, people live for thousands of years. There are things that we don't know that we need to know. Lots of things that we don't know. You ever heard that when they open these tombs, they keep talking about an afterlife, and the phrases that all those leaders and pharaohs and all those people that they now call written on those tablets or in the walls of the tomb travel to the afterlife, and how the servants and all these people traveled with them. It was a choice. When they decide to move on to a different dimension, it was a choice. That's how the word family came to be. Because when people move on, their family went with them. It was a choice. We have a lot to learn still. We still do. So welcome to the process of unindoctrination. Welcome to that process. Welcome to that process. That's a process that I will keep. I'll make sure that that process will always be there. Hola. Welcome to the process to those who are joining. And I'm very much happy that we had this moment. And I'm looking forward to keep on having this moment. I am happy, very, very much happy. I want to say to you, to those who are looking, to keep on supporting this cause, to keep on sharing this message, talk to each other, help persons to comprehend where we're going and how these things are affecting our daily lives, and what are we doing, and how we should come about it, doing it. If you comprehend what I'm saying. Hola. Oh, okay. Yes. It's something that I find pleasure doing, and I will keep on doing it. As I said to you earlier, I'm still not that well. At least I'm stronger than I was before. There's a lot of information that I wouldn't be able to give out, but to those who want to contact me, you can still use the number. If you see that I don't respond to you, that means I'm pretty much tired and I need to rest. So I want to say to you once again to stay safe, be careful. Sanitize yourself. Sanitary practice is constant use of water. Having a constant bath and cleaning your 1001 parts. That's a sanitary position that you put yourself in. So stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself. Wear a mask. You deserve to, but not all day. Don't put yourself in a position where you gotta wear a mask all day, because you're gonna be in. It's a constant process of your CO2. You're going to be, breathing in, inhaling and breathing out all the time. And don't forget the little ones who take it to public places. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey saying, saying thank you and good night for now.